Second topic, competitive advantage. What you need to know with this is the definition of competitive advantage, the two main methods, cost and differentiation, and you have to be able to explain, analyse and evaluate both. The other part then is added value, which is a separate topic within competitive advantage. So you have your two main areas, competitive advantage and then adding value or added value. Added value is a way to achieve competitive advantage also, but it's a topic on its own that could come up as evaluation. If we start with competitive advantage, okay, the definition of competitive advantage is about the ability for your business to differ compared to competitors and deliver then better value for your customers. That will then give you an edge in the market and allows you to attract and retain your customers over those rivals, allowing you then obviously the ripple effect would be greater sales, greater profit, market share, and consequently competitive advantage. So that could come up as a 4. Analyze then, it could be the benefits of it, the drawbacks of it, or also then two main methods. What it's kind of meaning, or what competitive advantage is trying to do, is you add more value to your business so that you have that edge in the market, whether it's quality, service, better value to your customers, whether it's in price or value for money. Two main methods that CA asks for are cost and differentiation. You have to be able to analyse, explain and evaluate both methods. Cost advantage is about having a cost advantage over your competitors, so you're producing at a lower price or a lower cost than your rivals. Likely examples of this would be, we see it with Lidl even now, mainly would have been Tesco, not the supermarket industry, Sainsbury's and that. So your big retailers compared to those smaller retailers who struggle to gain a cost advantage. With this, it is about then two options coming from it. Because you are able to produce at a lower cost, you can either one, sell your product at a lower price, or keep the price the same, especially if the market's not too competitive, and you're able to then obviously have more profit. So it's up to the business to decide what way they do their pricing, depending on the market. But cost advantage would allow you to lower your price, and we see that with certain items, like in the supermarket industry, like Tesco are able to sell things cheaper than maybe your local corner shop can. Now, methods for achieving it, economies of scale. So this is about lowering your average cost the larger you become. It can be done through purchasing from your suppliers cheaper, because suppliers will give you a discount, and because you're bigger, you're more reputable, more likely to pay. Technical, you're larger, you may be able to buy more machinery, even though it's costly to begin with. You won't maybe need to spend as much in labour, there's less mistakes, so again lowers your average cost. Financial is another one, because banks that are more likely to lend to you or lend to you at a lower interest rate, because you're seen as less risky than those smaller businesses. So economies of scale is one way of gaining a cost advantage. Economies of experience, maybe if you're very well equipped as a business in the industry, we see it in the mobile phone market with your Apple, your Samsung. They're able to produce high quality products and services in a very efficient way because they're so experienced with it. They're more likely maybe to make less mistakes, and that which lowers the cost down. The other option then is that cost advantage can be gained through having that superior technology, which I mentioned briefly in economies of scale. But if you are able to buy in more effective equipment compared to smaller competitors, you're able obviously to produce goods and services much more efficiently than firms that are maybe using dated or out of date or inferior technology, and that again gives you an edge in the market. And those machines are less likely to break down, less likely to make mistakes, or able to produce products that maybe others can't, so it gives you an edge. From an evaluation point of view, if you got a question saying evaluate a method of competitive advantage or evaluate cost advantage for X business, one big advantage is, for example, economies of scale, and then you can analyse that and explain it and what that can help do. So about lowering your costs down, more efficient, you can then lower your prices, or you can keep prices the same but have more profit that you can reinvest back in or have for your owners. Although product quality could be compromised, for example, if you were to change to a cheaper supplier or find a cheaper supplier and bulk buy, you mightn't get the same quality as before, and that could damage your reputation, your competitive advantage, your corporate image in the market. Sales could then be impacted. You also could have smaller companies, with a key advantage with this, smaller companies just can't compete with you. You're that large, that you have that market share in the market, and it gives you that edge because you are so large, and that's where you bring in the superior technology that you can invest in things, which then gives you even more of an edge. However, if all these businesses are trying to be cost advantage and keep lowering and lowering their costs, and we also see that in the supermarket industry, you might start cutting corners and things, which could damage your reputation coming through. If you're reducing your prices too much, you might end up lowering your profits or potential profits. So you have to think about that elasticity aspect we were talking about in AS2 just this week, or whether it's worth reducing the prices down. It can, though, this strategy work very well in like recessions, or like, for example, at the minute with inflation and the cost of living rising. If you're able to sell at a lower price your items, people might buy them more than higher priced alternatives, because maybe they have less disposable income. So cost advantage works well then. The other one then, the second big one, so one main key way to gain competitive advantage is your cost advantage. The other one is differentiation advantage. Differentiation advantage refers to the firm's ability to separate itself and its products from its competitors. Two main ways to gain differentiation advantage is through having that unique selling point, a USP, or having a strong brand coming through. USPs is about giving you something unique that no one else has in the market, and that can attract customers into you rather than someone else. We see it with the likes of Apple having the USP of Apple Music, the iMessage and things like that. That's why maybe people buy it more, the FaceTime and that as well, compared to other mobile phone brands. So it's why you buy that product. Something unique is associated with it that you can't get maybe elsewhere, or helps it stand out. The second big aspect of differentiation is strong brand. This is like your name, your symbol, your design, and it tries to make your product recognisable and distinguishable. So it's like, why does someone buy the Tommy Hilfiger white t-shirt at maybe £40-50 when you could buy a plain white t-shirt at £10-15 in Primark, but they want the logo on it? Same with, you see it a lot with sportswear and things. But again, with this, I suppose the big thing is that people will probably still buy it even if the price goes up by a little, because they'll want it still. They'll want that brand, and it's now you see that with loads of brands, people still want the branded item, especially if you're brand driven, rather than buying the cheaper alternative. But it depends with people if they feel they're getting value and money, because usually that branded product's more expensive. Now, the evaluation question with differentiation, with this, it would be like key advantage. Well, you're going to have brand loyalty. So if you get a question saying evaluate differentiation advantage, you'd maybe take a paragraph on strong brand, a paragraph on USP, or just a key advantage, a differentiation, counter, and then a key disadvantage and a counter. So it depends on the wording of the question. But with this, obviously brand loyalty, repeat custom, customers will keep coming to you because they want your brand to associate with high quality. However, the big issue there is that customers could be more influenced by price. So even though your brand seems really good, again, if disposable income's impacted by external factors and that, they might not want to buy your product anymore because the price is too high. So you need to be careful on that. Another big thing is that your competitors can find it very hard to compete with you with this one, because you have such an edge in the market, and that can give you then, just 2 seconds, that then allows you to gain that competitive advantage coming through. So like, say for example, if you think of market segments with that, if you're aiming at a specific market segment, your customers are still likely to stay loyal to you because you're able to meet their needs much more than a product maybe aiming at everyone. And that gives you your USP. However, to kind of gain that, it takes time to actually build that loyalty from your customers and kind of target that market segment and meet their needs, which is another issue. Probably the biggest drawback overall with differentiation is the money and time needed. You have to carry out a lot of market research in order to get maybe ahead of competition, in order to build the brand. You maybe have to do a lot of promotion and advertising, and that takes money, it takes time away from other elements of the business, and that can be a big issue coming through. So I would do as a main drawback, if this came up as an 18, your cost and your time, and talk through that then. However, people would argue it's time well spent and money well spent, because you're able to set a higher price than other businesses, because people maybe are more willing to justify paying the higher price for your products because you have that USP, or you have that strong brand, and they associate maybe high quality with you. They associate something that they can get from you that they can't get anywhere else. Now, the final part of this whole topic would be added value. It could come up as like a definition version, which it has in the past, like 4 marker. It can come up as an 6, an 8 or 10, like analyse ways to add value, which is a tricky enough question. And then it can come up evaluation of adding value. Adding value, key definition for this, and it was one that we looked at in September, and it was hard enough to remember, but it's about being able to charge customers a higher price than the cost of producing the item. And the idea is, especially if you're a manufacturing business, you're transforming raw materials into a desirable product, and you maybe add on additional features that then allows you to sell at a higher price than the cost of producing it. It might be like adding delivery service, convenience, branding, specific features and benefits of the product, excellent customer service, but it'll make people come to you over a competitor. And we looked at this with Boojum and how like their quick service market, people were buying off them. It was healthy alternatives, the burritos and all, compared to your traditional fast foods like McDonald's and things. So people were choosing them because of what they were offering, and that allowed them to charge a higher price than the cost of actually producing the burritos. So that was the key example and key case study we looked at that point. Now, so yeah, definition question, analyse and the ways of achieving it. That's very case study dependent. So as I said, different methods of achieving it. Your branding and having an excellent brand, having a really good customer service, convenience, product features and benefits, delivery service. We see it now even with businesses having like self-checkouts, maybe pay at the table if they come down with a mobile tablet, not for you to pay, just offering convenience to customers. Customer loyalty cards and things like that. So the case study will have different examples within it. What's the benefits of this? Well, when you do add value, you're able to charge a higher price than the cost of producing it, so you're going to make greater profit. You're going to have maybe customer loyalty and that coming through, and they're willing to pay that higher price for your product compared to going somewhere else, or your product or service. However, if you increase the price too much, you need to be careful you don't, because what you could do is restrict your sales and your sales revenue. It does depend on how elastic or inelastic the product is, but you have to just think about it coming through, and you as a business have to be aware of that. So if you increase the prices too much, is your demand going to fall by more? So the elasticity is important. Another kind of key advantage, you have the opportunity, or you have done, to make your product more distinctive, a USP in that. So it might give you a competitive edge. You can maybe take customers from other competitors. You have to just kind of be careful of that. But also with that, if your competitors are charging a lower price but the added value isn't there, they're more likely to come to you. And I use the example in class, this, like talking about cars. Like people are likely to go to maybe the BMW actual sales place, maybe in Boucher. You get the sparkling water, the tea, the coffee, the cappuccinos, whatever you want, and you can sit there, and maybe they'll do an after sales service, or they'll have service included and things. But you're getting maybe more value for money than going to a car dealer that might be slightly cheaper, but what you're getting out of it isn't as good, or isn't as good a service. So if you're getting that good customer service, you're more likely to go back to the place you bought from rather than going to a cheaper competitor. However, a big issue to gain all this added value is that it's costly. Whether it's after sales services, whether it's to create that USP, the features that no one else has, you have to spend heavily on research and development. You have to maybe hire more staff to offer the excellent customer service, or delivery service, or delivery van and that thing as well. So that's costly, and you have to be conscious of that as well. the other big issue you could talk about in this, if it came up as an 18, a key point you could take would be that if you're in a very, very competitive market, you have to think about, are people willing to pay more for your product that has a wee bit added value to it, but can they justify the higher price? Or would they prefer just to go to a cheaper alternative that mightn't offer just as much, but it's much cheaper than yours, especially if there's economic conditions, COVID, Brexit, cost of living crisis, rising like energy costs and things as well. Like people mightn't have that disposable income to justify coming to you. However, your counter that could be like the high price can maybe suggest that you're higher quality than competitors. So even though it can be risky to do the high price strategy, you're suggesting we're better. And you see it with Apple and that their phones charging more, but people still buy them. So that can mean that you can have a higher potential profit coming out of there. So you can maybe bring in that point. Okay, so 4 marker could go right the way at the end of the 18 coming through. And you need to know everything really in both the core sections of this: competitive advantage and added value, all the benefits, the drawbacks, the definitions, the ways of achieving each, and bringing all that through.